Our team has been committed to the automotive business for more than 100 years, and it's never been a more exciting time to be part of this industry. It's always important to optimize operations and lines of communication across the entire dealership, and I really think you're going to enjoy today's forum. Thanks for joining today's conversation.
Welcome back to our Automotive News Retail Forum NADA series. I'm Jason Stein, publisher of Automotive News. Great to be here with you again today. So far, we've had some outstanding discussions around digital retailing and staffing. Today, we're going to dive deeper into dealer operations. What is the new dealership model in the world today? How are collision and fixed ops being managed? How are dealers continuing to manage rapid change? And what will be the role of EVs in the retail future? Certainly a hot topic these days. There's much to cover, but before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors for their support of today's program. Our exclusive lead sponsor is Ally. Our platinum sponsors, Car Gurus, DSMA, Hierology, and JM&A Group. And our silver sponsor is Dealer Policy. Now let's get right to our panelists. First, Matt Bowers, the owner of Matt Bowers Auto Group, joining me from New Orleans today. Matt, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Jason. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Jennifer Falata is Director of Fixed Operations Consulting for Ally Insurance. She's in Chicago. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jason. Great to be here.
Thank you. Erich Gail, CEO of the Cardinale Group. He is in California today. Erich, always good to be with you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Evelyn Sames is CEO of Sames Auto Group. She joins us from Texas today. Hi, Evelyn.
Hi, Jason. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being with us. And finally, Andrew Spitzer is the COO of Spitzer Management. You'll notice from the jerseys behind him, he's joining us from Cleveland. How are you, Andrew?
Doing great.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for the panel being here with us today. We have a lot to discuss around dealer operations, and we all know that auto retailing has obviously seen a lot of changes in recent years, but most particularly in the last 12 months or so. We're going to get several of those areas that have changed. But Matt, I want to talk to you first, just about if you think of a holistic view of dealer operations, what stands out for you in the last 12 months? What are you focusing on the most right now?
Right now, it's inventory is a major subject among the car dealerships that I own. The transition from earlier in the year, efficiency, management of the inventory, and then really continuing some of these good habits forward. For some of the guys that work and gals that work for me, they weren't around during the recession or the economic recession of '08. It brought a lot of those memories back. So day supply, limiting mistakes, efficiency, throughput has led to a good year for us among a lot of other retailers this year.
Let me ask a similar question to Jennifer now. When you look at fixed ops, which we're going to dive into here in a little bit, but you talk fixed operations and what's changed fundamentally for you as we consider the COVID circumstances and now where we are today, what are some of the biggest changes?
Well, obviously, it's that flexibility for customers, right? Dealers had to really learn to adapt and figure out, what were the best things in their marketplace to be able to get consumers in safely. Doing things like pickup and delivery, contactless service. And, obviously that's a really innovative thing. And I think that's here to stay. And, going forward, just being flexible to make sure that we are interacting with our customers on the way that they want to do business at the dealership and service.
Erich, you and I talked during a daily drive several months ago, actually last fall now. When you think about how much your business has changed just from a dealer operation standpoint, whether it's a consideration of a new dealership model, collision, fixed ops, all the rapid changes that have occurred, what strikes you the most?
The incredible opportunities that we've had. I will share with you that if a year now of this global pandemic has taught us anything, it's as an organization, many of you know that we've spent the last decade preparing for the next Black Swan event. And I don't think any of us could have imagined that it would come in the form of a global pandemic, truly unprecedented in our lifetimes. But to surmise the environment that we're in has been really exciting. I think for the vast majority of us, we have had record-breaking performance now for most of the past year. We've really used this new normal, for lack of a better word, as an opportunity to continue to show ourselves what we're really made of. You know, the management-driven disciplines and the process and the adherence to the guest in the home experience, which is just ingrained in our core, has manifested itself over the last year to a place that we're so blessed and fortunate to be recipients of great opportunities that we're really excited about the future. So much, in fact, that in the past but few months we've added 2 additional stores in a very short period of time, and more to come.
Excellent. Same question for Evelyn and Andrew. As you step back and look at your own businesses, Evelyn, I'll just begin with you. What strikes you the most?
Well, I think what has been really striking is the how agile and how quickly we were able to adapt. As Erich mentioned, we couldn't have even imagined this global pandemic, and we have recreated the new normal. The customer experience has been most important for us. Obviously taking care of our employees, but also delivering what the customer expects. So contactless delivery, all delivery in home. We haven't talked about online retailing, but obviously that definitely has made some waves in the last 12 months for us. But I really think that the fact that we were able to adapt this quickly to something this large and this global, that's struck me the most. Our priorities have changed. Our business is lean. And I keep reminding my staff that we have to remember where we're at today, because it's easy to get fat and happy real quick. Of course, we don't want to be as lean as we are on the inventory side, but we've really found a way to run our business in a very efficient and effective way.
Andrew, final question for you on dealer operations. Your takeaway from what you've had to adapt with and to.
Yes, so far, I mean, everyone's hit the nail on the head. I think if you take a step back, it's really illuminated, what can I control? I've been stressing to my team, what you can't control, you can't control. So there's no sense in really getting dialed in and, focused on what you can't control. What you can do is focus on the things that maybe you've been sloppy on in the past, or just real within your 4 walls. What are the opportunities for improvement? Because, we all had the hope that we'll get through this, and it looks like we're looking at the light at the end of the tunnel. What is it that I can control today that I'm going to benefit from in a year from now? And I think that's the big opportunity for us.
So, Andrew, let me stay with you, and we'll dive into a couple of subjects here that are critical to the business on the operations side, the used vehicle side. This has been such a roller coaster over the course of the last 12 months. What do you think, Andrew, the role that used vehicle sales will play in your business going forward, and what you've learned having dealt with the effects of the pandemic?
Yeah. I think it's as big as ever, especially with the lack of new inventory. It's been important to keep a healthy used book business. A challenge has been, changing with the market. I'm sure we all have a few units on the lot that we bought, a month or so ago, and now maybe we're a little heavier in a couple units than what we were before. So I think we've paid to learn some experiences. But I think used cars are as important as ever.
How about investing in used operations? Matt, I'll bounce over to you. Will you invest in used only operations, and what are you going to do to strengthen the used business at your franchise operations?
Right. In my career, I've had multiple franchise stores. I've also had standalone used car operations included in those groups. I think getting the inventory is a competitive practice all over the country, and here in New Orleans as well. So for us right now, we're spending the majority of our time focusing on the franchise operations over, again, what Andrew said, what you can control, and we can control how we document our trades. We measure how many vehicles we look at, how many vehicles we trade. Each person individually at the store, how they stack up and rank against one another. And we're actually this year in 2020, we've generated pay plans that have included things like how fast you sell the cars, how many you trade as a percentage of what you look at into each manager's pay plan to drive that inventory acquisition pace.
So let's stay on the used topic. And Erich, I'm curious what you have encountered in your own operations and what you're doing to strengthen the used business in order to capitalize on the market.
Well, we love used cars, and they're absolutely the cornerstone of our operation dating back to 1979. Much as we really, truly love and enjoy our partnerships with our franchise manufacturing partners, the used car business is a science all its own. It's one that we continue to strive at and study our metrics of market day supply and cost to market and price to market and stimulate the market when and how we can. I'd love to say that now more than ever, right, with a chip shortage and the manufacturing contractions that occurred, last year, that used cars should be more robust or should be of a greater importance. They've always been of paramount importance. And I would recommend to anyone watching this that you have to literally treat your operation like we're under a constricted market at all times and run used cars like a truly capital investment platform. It is, you're managing money and throughput. We know that for those of us that have, multi-levels and prongs of fixed operations, that it feeds our operations beautifully. Now more than ever, much as everyone will continue to stress, for the next X number of months, while the chip shortage begins to normalize itself with, I believe it's 1 point some odd million units affected thus far. We are absolutely in the used car business to the point where our outbound efforts should be continued follow-up with our guests, but offers to purchase their vehicles, whether it's a third vehicle, someone that they know. We're making appraisal appointments and holding that as the same value as an air quote sales appointment. It's absolutely critical that we maintain a constant daily focus on used car operations.
Yeah, going off that, everyone has always talked about, as long as I've been in business, I know it's not a crazy amount of time. How do we work service? And that's been an awesome opportunity for us to get some quality pre-owned units, which we've been scratching and clawing for the past year, way longer plus on top of that. Another avenue that we've gone down that we haven't done before is, luckily we're a larger size group, and some pre-owned units that we've taken in that we haven't really, we determined didn't really make the cut for what we would retail on our own lot. When we acquired the store back in August, they had a budget lot, and we kind of had a perception that those weren't quality. But what we realized is over the past 10 years, cars have gotten so much better in quality that a 10-year-old vehicle today isn't what it was 20, 30 years ago, right? So we found having that budget lot has been a really unique opportunity to add a profit center. And had it not been for that acquisition, we've never would have even considered it. So that's been able to grow the used operations for us.
Evelyn, curious of your experience on the used side.
Yeah, so used car operations are a big component of our business. We've got 4 independent used car dealerships, and we have a huge buy here, pay here business as well. So while used cars has been a challenge for months, it's also been one of our greatest opportunities with the new car challenges that we're facing. We have found new ways to acquire inventory. And as Andrew mentioned, on the parts and service side, we're not having to, not having to invest as much into these used vehicles. We've really uncovered different opportunities for acquisitions. There was so many months where our local auctions were closed. So many of our wholesalers were going out of business. They were losing their lines of credit. If there's been a challenge, we have faced them, and we have overcome each one differently. We've had to get creative. We've integrated paying our different sales representatives to go out on the street and literally find cars. Craigslist, classifieds. When there was 2 months in our company where we did not purchase one single used car. I mean, the values were out of reach and unreasonable, and the inventory just wasn't out there. So we had to get really creative. So we were taking every opportunity on the service drive to appraise a vehicle and try to take it in that way. And like I said, we were scouring the internet and the good old newspaper to find inventory during that time.
Incredible times.
So Jason, can I just add from a fixed ops perspective? I think there's definitely an opportunity here to focus on providing that exceptional customer experience to our service customers, because as we know, the defection rate on used vehicles, definitely jumps after the vehicle is out of factory warranty. So are we getting back to some of those basics, such as when the vehicle is sold, are we doing the service department introduction, even if it's virtually, making sure the customer knows who they can talk to, setting their first service appointment, just to really set ourselves up for that success of bringing those customers back in to the service department.
It's all about, Jennifer, that long-term loyalty, right? And it's almost what Andrew said earlier, that if you're able to not only source some cars on that side, but also gain a long-term customer, you're going to be able to pivot your business, right, Jennifer?
Well, that's the saying, right? Sales sells the first vehicle and service sells the rest.
Eric, let me ask you, what's been the effect of the rise of Carvana and other used-only online rivals, Vroom and Shift? What's that done to your business?
It hasn't done anything to our business. And I just want to get that right out of the gate. Everybody's so worried about they're called disruptors. No, they're just savvy marketers. They've figured out an opportunity that we as an industry have made available by gaps in our operations. Look at CarMax. I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar organization that was built on the fact that for decades we wouldn't buy cars off the street. Shame on us. The truth of it is, it's up to us in this moment right here, right now, as it has been throughout the entirety of our industry, to decide our own fate, to make our own weather, to make the decisions that we're going to make and to stand behind them. A few of the other panelists recently were just talking about how, getting back to basics, going to classified listings, doing things like that, which is all true and wonderful. And unfortunately, it does take occasionally some ripple or shake of the market to kind of get us back to mastery of the basics. It's something we firmly believe in. And so, the idea that if someone puts a Carvana right next to an automotive group where you happen to have holdings, that it really shouldn't matter one way or the other. If we provide an amazing experience, if we are focused every day to have robust inventory, whether it's the sub 10,000, kind of former wholesale market, all the way up through a variety of used inventory and a great selection of new vehicles, we're going to be extremely successful. And I think that we need to focus on the task at hand, which is to look inward. And let's not worry about, disruptors. They disrupt those that allow life to be disrupted. And it's our responsibility to ensure that our automotive operations are truly built as fortress dealerships that earn and deserve the success and the opportunities that we have. It's not luck or magic. It's the results of extremely hard work, The commitment and the activity will equal the results that we achieve, and that's the measure stick for us. Thank you for the question.
Matt, let me point this back to you. The disruptors have had some sharp criticism for traditional retailers in their advertising of late. Super Bowl kind of rings a bell. Do franchise dealers need to do more to communicate that customer experience that consumers can expect at a modern day dealership?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jason. I get a lot of calls from analysts and Blue Shift and people like this because I own not only car franchises but also a consumer finance company as well. And Carvana, I've seen their commercials. They're not very flattering. But the reality is, at least I can speak for in our group and the others that I'm aware of, I don't know if that's actually accurate in today's modern, car business. So I can tell you at my car dealerships, we have good photos online. We can answer you virtually via social media, chat platforms, email, text, call, whatever you like. We can deliver the vehicle the last mile to your door if that's the way you want to go. I don't think companies like that, the iPhone, this changes people's lives right here. I don't know if these companies change anybody's life in reality. I also don't know if they cater to the consumer that makes up the majority of America. If they can go to the parking lot at the Walmart in Metro New Orleans and do business with 95% of the consumers there, then maybe they can change people's lives and be a true disruptor in this business. But fundamentally, I don't see it happening, not anytime soon. So I feel okay about where we're at long term.
Andrew, go ahead, Eric.
I'm sorry, Andrew, just really quick. I mean, Matt describes really a cross-section of the country, okay? And the truth of it is that innovation, which is what someone could argue that disruptors are, innovation is just yet another reminder of what we need to then continue to focus on. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And so, we should constantly look and reevaluate what is our guest experience. How willing are we to provide a service valet, pick up and return your car, pick up and return you physically, right, for a contactless delivery? The pandemic has exposed continued opportunities for us, no different than CarMax, no different than a Carvana or a Vroom. It's ways for us to continue to look and shape our model to provide a seamless, truly world-class guest in the home experience. So, Matt, that's wonderful. Thank you. That's very insightful.
Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to focus on the retail side. I think the service side is where we have a significant advantage over these guys, for multiple reasons. But, I was kind of relieved when Erich said he didn't see much disruption because I was caught off guard by the question just because I don't think we've seen real impact from them in our markets, and they are in our markets. So, I agree with him on that.
Jennifer, let's talk about the opportunities or tips to help improve things like fixed ops profitability or staff development around making sure that the dealership, the traditional dealership as we know it, still has an opportunity to really maximize its opportunity.
Yeah, so I think a couple thoughts there. The first thing is people, right? And I think COVID has really shown that we should refocus on our employees, invest in our employees, make sure that we're communicating our goals and our vision and what our path is to get there. COVID has been very stressful for people in many different layers. So making sure that we're supporting and communicating frequently, I think that's step one. And then I think step two is focusing on that exceptional customer experience, right? If we treat our people well, if we invest in them in training, they in turn will treat our customers well, which will make our business grow.
Evelyn, I want to turn to you. When we look at the impact that EVs are going to have, this is a major talking point that you read every week, every day, seemingly in the news. Are you concerned that the move to EVs will threaten the franchise dealership model?
I am a bit concerned. Texas is probably, well, not, I say Texas, but South Texas, where I'm based, we don't see a huge EV threat yet. We're a truck market, and obviously Ford's got their F-150 coming down the pipeline, and but I do feel like the model in general to cut out the franchise is a scary thing. Our state has some great legislation protecting the franchise dealers, and I think that's really important. So we have stood behind our state association, and they've made some great waves. But as we know, Tesla's now come to Texas, and EV is real. Now, at least my customers, I don't see a lot of my customers interested in electric vehicles. Like I said, we're primarily in a truck market, but we don't anticipate that to have any huge effect on us in the immediate future. Now, it's something that we're definitely preparing ourselves for. We've already installed all the charging stations that the manufacturers have required of us. They get very little usage around here, but I think we are also in the Austin market, and that's where we're definitely seeing a little bit more of a wave of interest in EV. But as your question was related to the dealership model, and that is definitely an area of concern. And I think, as Erich put it perfectly, we really, really have to make sure we don't leave any gaps in that we are providing the best experience. We always look at the Apples and the Amazons of the world, and that's what they're doing. They're fulfilling every customer need. Their experience is seamless, and the transaction is easy. And I think we need to zip up our processes and be able to provide that level of service to our customers.
Andrew, directly to you, this is topical because just this week, an Ohio State senator introduced a bill that proponents say would allow electric vehicle startup Lordstown Motors to sell directly to consumers in Ohio. I'm imagining you have a view on this.
Yeah, I mean, not thrilled by that, especially, ironically, we have a Chevy dealership, just a couple miles down the street from there. So, just because it's been proposed doesn't mean that it's going to happen. And then, like Evelyn said, we do have our own protection. However, just because we're dealing with it now doesn't mean it's not going to be a threat down the road again. So, going off exactly what Evelyn said, it's all about getting dialed in at the store level. Even if customers are going to be able to order direct from the manufacturer, I think there is still something to say about, being able to touch and feel the vehicle at the store level before moving forward with, the second biggest purchase of your life. And I don't think we can understate that, but it's about people. If you have the right people, people follow people. And I believe that, and that's a big reason why we've been in business over 100 years. So, that's a big aspect that they can't take away from us.
So I was just going to add on to what Evelyn and Andrew were saying. I think right now, just preparing for what's coming, especially looking at servicing, what equipment does it make sense to get right now. But I would also add to the fact that, we need to keep in mind, especially with the used car business as it is, the average age vehicle on the road is 11 years old, right? So this isn't something, especially from a service department perspective, that's just going to automatically switch overnight, right? We've got some transition time here ahead of us.
Matt.
Going back to the franchise dealer model and I remember one of my very first years in the car business was the era of Ford Direct. This is nothing new. And the automobile business is probably one of the, if not the biggest business in the world, certainly in North America. So if it reaches as far as it does, it impacts so many people's lives, from retail workers to suppliers to chip makers to drivers. Smart people are going to try to figure out a way to make money and disrupt that business. Automobile retail is a difficult business. That's been proven for decades and decades and decades. So the people that are trying to sell direct to consumers now, this isn't the first time it's been tried. Disposition, acquisition of vehicles. This past year, it's gained some momentum. But look, this past year, if every person on this panel bought $1 million worth of used cars 1 year ago, they're all worth meaningfully more today. The car business is easy when that's going on. In normal times, it's much less easy. And you know, I think dealers have a place in the world, at least in our generation, dealing with consumers, handling problems that exist that you just can't handle. Again, it's not a DVD or a cell phone. It's an automobile with a lot of complexities to it. In my market, specifically electric vehicles, I mean, in Metro New Orleans, they have a hard time getting the traffic lights to turn green after they're red. Okay, you know, much less setting up grids for autonomous vehicles or electrification grids that will enable consumers to enjoy the same convenience that they enjoy today. I think like a lot of large issues, it's real. I don't know if it's our generation's. I don't know if it's real for our generation.
Erich, Gail, I can imagine you have some thoughts here.
I do. Shocking
Fire away.
as it may be.
Fire away.
A couple things for us to recognize, please. Electrification is really exciting. Okay. And what I don't want to do is blend electrification with all of a sudden that we're trying to be scraped out of the consumer pathway between manufacturing and delivery and service. We are literally just at the onset of what electric vehicles can truly do. Anyone who's ridden in an electric vehicle is normally blown away physically, literally, by the amount of instant torque and speed performance that these vehicles have. We've heard people talk about how, an electric truck can't accomplish this, that, or the other thing. An electric truck can tear a building down if you really wanted to. Okay. So all things being what they are, electric propulsion is really exciting. Okay. I happen to love the growl of a true internal combustion engine, and that is not going away in the next 30 years. Granted, segments of the buying population, segments of vehicles that are manufactured will continue to become more electric, but there is ingrained in our soul the feeling of a torque internal combustion engine. Now, granted, at some point in our lifetime, the majority may be electric. Great, outstanding. Now we talk about the fact that the manufacturers who have spent and will continue to invest countless billions of dollars to develop cutting-edge new product, that is a task all its own. Okay, Automotive News, you write about the complexities that manufacturers face around the world. Now try to add on top of that an industry that's been developed and honed and continues to evolve over the past plus 100 years. There's 10,000 moving pieces and parts to manufacture one vehicle, and hope you get it right. Now turn around and try to figure out how you're going to serve a country of 300 plus million population, and that's just here in the United States, and how to keep everyone happy. The complexities are such that this is not the head in the sand. This is not the ostrich. This is, to our manufacturing partners, continue to please invest in and develop truly world-class product, and let us then be accountable and responsible for the consumer and the guest experience. And there will be some direct. There will be some of that. That's just a reality. And yet, in our lifetime, to Matt's point, right, the car business is easy on paper until it gets real hard. And then you have to rely on all the things we've discussed in this call thus far. The 10,000 moving pieces and parts that have to work in harmony to make it seamless. So, thank you. Great question.
Evelyn, if we look at infrastructure requirements for selling EVs, how will those affect the dealership cost model in your mind? How are automakers asking you to change the physical business to accommodate EV?
Well, each manufacturer has had different requirements, and the timing's been different for all of them. Obviously, there is a cost. There's modifications to. I mean, we had just finished building a Honda image store, and they two or 3 months later they turned around and said that we needed to install EV stations, and so there have been some modifications that we've had to do to all of our franchise stores. Right now, it seems the cost is somewhat reasonable, but we haven't been able to really see the business from. We haven't seen the return on investment. On the Ford side, I know that the EV charging stations are backed up and we can't even order them. So we've been told to go on Amazon and order chargers that way. So I think everybody's infrastructure is a little bit different. The investment, obviously, the investment level is different. We want to be competitive. We want to be there for our customers and offer all the benefits of buying a car from us. And so we've complied, but whether we'll see the return on that investment anytime soon, that's still, that question still stands to be answered.
So have you rated Amazon for their charging infrastructure and equipment?
Well, I got a text from my rep yesterday saying that I needed to go on and do it soon because they were going to announce it company-wide. And so, we rated Amazon for those.
Wow, interesting. How would you want to see automakers, everyone staying with you for a moment, how would you want to see automakers defray the costs?
Well, obviously, we would like them to participate in some way. I really wish they were more realistic about the timing. We all know, I'm sure, that the manufacturers have a way of twisting your arm, and most of the time it's, well, you've got to do this to do this. And so we play the game most of the time. And don't get me wrong, we value all of our partnerships with the different manufacturers that we're partnered with. But if there was just a more streamlined process, if the investment was communicated a little bit clearly, and if they were more realistic about our different markets and where we're seeing those EV sales, if we're really gonna, like, I can tell you that in Austin, we definitely need double the number of charging stations that our South Texas dealerships need. There seems to be more of just a one size fits all for this EV rollout, and that's been kind of difficult for me to swallow, considering all of our markets are kind of in different places with this EV startup.
Andrew, curious of your experience.
Well, I'm excited for it. It's happening. So, always eager to take on another challenge. To your point, a little help from the manufacturer would be great. I mean, I'm not one that appreciates almost like ultimatums. And I feel like we've almost experienced that with one. It's kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing, get in, get out. I think, the more metro stores, I think you're going to see more ROI out of. Unfortunately, we have a good amount of rural stores, and with the amount of capital it's going to take to get stores, especially when we're outside of the charging areas. But you need specialized lifts and stuff for these giant batteries. That's. I hope it doesn't lead to tough decisions, but it would be one thing if we were investing all this money and we knew, okay, we're good for the next 10 to 15, 20 years. What scares me is, what if, 7 years from now, they're like, hey, all this stuff is dated. It's time to redo everything again. And they treat it like, you're doing a facelift on the store, but it's so much equipment, that's my biggest fear. But, I think as with anything, we'll adapt and, we'll persevere. So looking forward to the challenge.
Jennifer, while this is a little further off into the future, what are your thoughts on what the EV business will mean for the fixed ops business? which obviously has been considered the backbone of any profitable dealership. What can dealers do now to prepare for the changes that will come in that area?
Well, I would just say, what we've been talking about thus far around EVs, it sounds like from an owner and a leader perspective, there's frustration around, communication as to how this process is all going to work. So my thought would be, making sure that the teams within the dealerships understand what our strategy is, where we're headed with this, what the expectations are. So communicating that. And then looking at, what can we do to prepare now? We talked about investing in equipment. Is it still going to be viable down the road? I think we just have to take that as it comes. But as I said before, I mean, this isn't going to change overnight, but it is coming. So making sure that we're prepared from that, from a training perspective, from a safety perspective, but also keeping in mind that we still will have, conventional vehicles out there that will continue to need repairs for quite some time. So, I think it's a balance, and dealers are very adaptable, and, I know we'll figure it out.
So let's go to our final topic, which is COVID, one that unfortunately we've been living with now for exactly 12 months. Matt, what are the COVID changes that were brought into the dealership model that you think are going to last beyond the pandemic? Because as the saying goes, what does every pandemic have in common? They all end.
Right. I mean, look, I believe that it took some overarching themes that had already been happening in the automotive retail space and just moved everything closer to right now. I think that the way consumers interact with the product, price discovery, trade valuations, negotiations, I think all that stuff is going to be going, it's already gone this way. It's gone this way years and years ago. It's gone all electronic. The days of consumers coming into the dealerships and, learning in person about those sort of things are over. Our traffic as people in our showroom transacting on automobiles, it's really about pricing and inventory. And then the way we merchandise it on our websites and social media platforms. So I think that it took some things that were already going that way, it had been going that way, and moved it a lot closer. I believe that digital retailing, even though in my experience with digital retailing, the vast majority of customers were willing to take that to a point, but didn't want to come in and transact on the automobile. I believe that will change, though. I believe that people will figure out a way, certain type of people will figure out a way to transact electronically, and we have to make it an easy and an amenable process for them.
Erich, what changes are only going to be temporary?
None of them. They're all staying. We certainly want the health of the world to be improved. We want this to be over, okay? And yet, shame on us if we forget the things that a pandemic or economic challenge or society shifts. Shame on us if we miss the gold of that lesson. And that is to show the areas that we can be better. And to Matt's point, right? If we have the right inventory, if we provide an amazing guest in the home experience, if we honor the ROR, the return on relationship, right? Which goes back to the question about investing in EVs. They're coming. Let's invest in them. Yes, we want our manufacturer partners to participate. Let's invest in the relationship with our manufacturers, with our customers. Let's earn the success that we have. I quite frankly, I don't want any of it to go away. Social distancing, we're huggers. We love to hug and love on our customers and our associates. I hope that obviously comes back. But beyond that, this is an opportunity for us to evolve, and this shined light on, again, what we're really capable of. Looking at this in hindsight after what has been a year, what an amazing year it's been for us as an industry. What an incredible opportunity it is for us as operators. Again, to Matt's point about digital retail, we have those options and opportunities throughout the organization. And the vast majority of people will reach a certain point transacting online, and they want to finish live and in person. But that will continue to evolve. We will get to a point where there will be a combination of in-store, almost studio or gallery, design your automobile type experiences. And there will be others that will be ordered to spec, and then we will provide the product facilitation and the introduction to service. So always a pleasure, Jason, and to the rest of you, thank you so much for having us on. And yeah, great question. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, we'll leave it at that. Matt, Jennifer, Andrew, Evelyn, Eric, thank you so much for being part of our Retail Forum and NADA series. Really appreciate your thoughts and insights. And of course, wish you nothing but the best for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that's it for today's Retail Forum NADA. Thanks again to our sponsors for helping us. Our exclusive lead sponsor, Ally, our platinum sponsors, Car Gurus, DSMA, Hierology, and JM&A Group, and our silver sponsor, Dealer Policy. Don't forget, nominations are now open for 2 great programs. If you know of an exceptional retail employee under 40 who is making an impact, we want to know about it. Go to autonews.com/40under40 for details and send in your nominations by the end of the month, March 31st. And of course, the Automotive News Best Dealerships to Work For program is 10 years old this year. We want to once again celebrate the places where employees are happy and customers can feel their enthusiasm. If your dealership is a great place to work, apply today to participate, be part of our decade-long run of recognizing the best dealerships to work for. Register at autonews.com/bestdealers and join us next Tuesday, March 16th at 2 p.m., where we will take a look at mergers and acquisitions. Of course, an enormous piece that's going on this year in the retail world. You will not want to miss it. We look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for joining us today.